Hello, sewing machine heroes. Welcome to day 3 of our daily deals for Black Friday. So I hope you're hanging in there with me. I appreciate you taking the time to watch us over this busy holiday weekend. But these are the absolute lowest enrollment fees I ever offer. And I do know a number of people wait for this time of year so that they can snag one of these deals. So I hope that that's the case for you. If you've never joined me before, my name is Andy Barney, and I created the Sewing Doc Academy to give home sewists a way to care for their machines just like a professional when they don't have a service shop to rely on, when costs are rising, and for those that can't afford the downtime. Now, that has also turned into several people building micro businesses and mobile businesses to help other people in their community, either by volunteer work, retirement income, starting a small business, and we even have a few people that have built an entire service shop. So welcome to our Sunday daily deals. I'm going to get right into it and tell you what we're adding to our daily deals today. So we have our, let's see, this is Sunday. So it is our vintage program that we are really focusing on today. We already have some daily deals from the previous 2 days that you can check out at the link below in comments. So, our Vintage Sewing Machine Mastery Program is meant to help you service, repair, and do functional restoration on vintage and antique sewing machines. It does include all vintage and antique sewing machines, regardless of the brand or model. We get a little iffy when we get into specialty machines. If you have a furring machine or, like a leather industrial machine, but we help you with finding parts, replacing parts, how to address things that aren't moving correctly. Uh, Pretty much anything you can think of. We don't really do a lot in the painting or replacing decals or refinishing. Again, we are functional restorationists, not vanity. There are a number of people in our program that are exploring that as well, though, that would be happy to talk to you about that. So we also do a lot of motor service and electrical rewiring. It's really difficult to find a shop that has someone with that skill anymore. And that's probably the biggest reason that vintage and antique machines end up in the landfill is that they have electrical rewiring that's very questionable. Some people have just cut the plugs. And then we have a lot of motors that need good service after having sat for 30 years. So we help you with finding replacement parts. We help with creative solutions. Paul is the main instructor in this program. And part of that reason is because his brain is great for finding creative solutions. One of the biggest questions we get about this program is, well, it's hard to find parts because they don't make them anymore. And that can be true. And while I can't make any blanket guarantees, Paul does work really hard at finding creative solutions for things when parts aren't being made anymore. And sometimes we come up empty, but most of the time we have found something that works. So we do work with you individually in this program. There is a learning library that we go through that gives you the foundation that guides you through most of the procedures. But the real goal of our program is that you work with us one-on-one on your specific machine with the problem you're having. And we also work with groups of people that maybe offer their solution and things that they found when they worked on the same machine. So again, this program is not just learning when and where to lubricate it. A lot of people have already gotten those basics in some of the Facebook groups or using YouTube. We work with you on how and why machines work the way they do. We work with you on deep diving on anything. Paul will get on a Zoom call with you privately and help you rewire a motor or do electrical rewiring. Whatever you need, we're here to support you. So we have a lot of benefits to this program. You do have lifetime access to all of our learning modules in this program. You have personalized help from Paul and I when you need it, an entire group of people that are willing to support you. We have a private Facebook group that's got over 1,000 people in it. We do motor service and rewiring. We have live calls once a month on Saturdays. We have live weekly calls on Wednesdays. And again, we help you in finding parts. Basically, if we can make it happen, we will help you with it. So it's not a lot we don't do in this program. Now, normally this program is $249, but when I host the periodic open house, one of the benefits of registering for that open house is reduced fees, and that's usually reduced to $199. But once a year and only on Black Friday weekend, I do reduce this to our lowest fees ever to $169. That is a one-time payment. You have lifetime access to all of those learning lessons, and that's going to save you $80 off of our regular fee. Along with that, we do have a drawing. If you check the link below for the daily deals, you will find more information about the drawing that we're having. If you enroll in this program by itself, it will give you 2 entries into that drawing. Now, along with that, as a brief note, again, there will be more information on this. If you're curious about more details about the vintage program, then even the timing program, if you hang on, once I'm finished talking about our daily deals, this is going to move right into our an informational video from our open house that give you more details. So we normally do the vintage sewing machine mastery and basic hook timing. You are required to either be in the vintage program or the modern program in order to access the basic hook timing program. The timing refers to the way that the machine makes a stitch. And when that timing gets interrupted, you won't get any stitches, or it'll be very messy skip stitches, what they call it. So we have a program that will help you fix that on your machine. And so again, it's required. So we do offer a bundle of these two programs together. And normally it's $448. When I host a regular open house, it's $398. But during our Black Friday daily deal event, where it's going to be reduced down to $368 for both of these programs. Again, that's a one-time payment. You get lifetime access that includes help from us when you need it on both the vintage machines and setting the hook timing or checking to make sure it's okay. We do offer a two-payment plan for this. So if you enroll today, you're going to pay $190 today, and then in exactly 30 days, you will pay the second $190 payment on the card that's on file. So you're going to save $80 off of our regular enrollment fee. That's a very significant savings, and that's going to give you 3 entries into our giveaway drawing. Now, as a reminder, we do have a service program, which includes all of our current programs that are even available right now. And we don't normally include the featherweight service program in this, but so that's an extra special bonus for us. So that gives you remove your covers for modern sewing machine service, vintage or sewing machine mastery, the featherweight service program, our VSMM extra, which are our live events for the vintage program, motor service and electrical rewiring, the troubleshooting program. And then we've added in the basic hook timing to make this our service program. Now, this would normally be $800 for all of these programs together, but during our regular open house event, I reduce it to $625. And for an amazing Black Friday offer, we reduce this all the way down to $599. That's a one-time payment. Now, we do offer a payment plan, and this is not changing anything other than spreading out that enrollment fee across 60 days. So if you want to use the 3-payment plan, you can elect to do that on the sales page, on the checkout page. You'll pay $205 on the day you enroll, $205 in 30 days later, and then exactly 60 days later, it will debit that third payment of $205. Now, you have access to everything in those programs from day one. It's just spreading out the cost. And that's going to save you $280 off of our normal enrollment fee over here. And that will give you 7 entries into our giveaway drawing. So thank you again for joining me today. Again, if you want to know a little bit more about the Vintage Sewing Machine Mastery Program and the basic hook timing and how those work together, hang on with me for a few more seconds and it's going to carry over into that video. Again, this is the first program that I had launched back in 2021. I came from the vintage realm. It's still very much my heart and soul. I will never get tired of working on old machines and bringing them back to life. I still have quite a few of my own to restore as time goes on. So let's talk first about what's considered vintage. So number one, it's going to be a mostly metal exterior, meaning that the covers are generally easier to remove. There's not going to be any computers for the most part. There's some good examples here. This is a classic Singer 1591. As you can see, it's all metal. It's cast iron, heavy as heck. If you, it's going to take you about 15 seconds to get into this machine. You have a cover to remove here, a cover in the back, this cover here, and lift it up, and you're in the machine. So a lot easier to get into than our modern machines. We have a FOF 1222, also very popular metal. We have a nice little Kenmore, and we have a Bernina 830. So this is just giving you an example of what we would consider vintage machines. A few might have electronics. That's kind of what I wanted to point out here. The FOF 1222, sometimes you'll find one that's a FOF 1222E, which indicates it has electronics in it. That's usually just a capacitor set up with the power control. It's not computer boards and things like we're used to. And same for a Bernina record over here. Those are considered electronic as well because it says electronic on it. That's nothing significant. But if you had a needle up, down, or thread cut or anything like that, it would still be in the modern program. Now, in this program, unlike the modern program, we actually help a lot more with repairs than we can in the modern program. So we'll teach you to clean, lubricate, and make almost any repair to vintage and antique sewing machines. This is going to help you care for the machines you already have. I think that if you haven't already been bitten been bitten by the vintage bug, you probably will be as you work through this program. I hear it all the time. A lot of people come in here and work on their very first vintage machine and fall in love with the process and don't understand yet how exciting it is and satisfying it is to clean out a bunch of old gunk and put new lubricant in there and hear a machine change from sounding like it's on its last leg to just humming along beautifully, making it maybe not shiny again, but making it pretty and fixing electrical stuff. It's addictive, and that's why a lot of us are still here. Motor service and rewiring skills will be included in this, and this is absolutely the biggest skill that's saving machines from landfills right now. We have a number of people that have really been able to capture a bunch of these vintage machines on curbs or from recycling centers, because when people see that electrical rewiring is all bare, they assume it's unsafe and just get rid of it. But we do teach you those skills. You can't really take a vintage machine into a modern service shop and expect that anyone there is going to know how to handle the motor or even do the electrical rewiring. So that's going to be one of the biggest skills that we offer. This does include vintage and antique sewing machines, regardless of brand and model. So it doesn't matter if it's a Singer, a White. Even if some odd international brands, we've seen some interesting things come out of other countries. A lot of German names that I don't even think I could pronounce. We do help you with functional restoration. I do want to be clear about that. We are functional restorationists, not what they call vanity restorationists. So we teach you to have a working machine, not so much to strip it down and paint it. We focus a lot in motor service and electrical. We help you find replacement parts. I think a big concern of people coming in here is like, well, they haven't made parts for decades. How are we going to get parts? You'd be surprised. There's a lot of aftermarket parts available. Things have recovered from COVID pretty well in this industry, so we do find the majority of what we need. And there is a growing segment of the population that is exploring how 3D printing and even what do they call that? Like metal lathe work where people are designing parts again. That's a whole other skill level. I'm never going to have. My brain does not work like an engineer like that. But we see a lot of promise coming out of the 3D printing community, especially on the future of parts. Now, I will say, I make Paul blush a lot when I say this, but one of the things I'm most proud of about our program is Paul comes from a family of engineers. He did not take a career as an engineer by any means, but has a creative brain that I don't even have, where when we have machines come in, a lot of times what's missing are thread guides or something similar. And your machine will not function if you have even one thread guide that's broken or missing. And we've had a lot of machines sit on shelves for a long time because there was broken thread guides and no way to fix it. And Paul has gotten really good at finding creative solutions when we can't find parts. So it's not always a pretty fix, but a functioning machine with an ugly part on it is still better than a machine going to a landfill. So I can't make any blanket guarantees on anything, but let me just say that Paul will go to the ends of the earth to find solutions. We have over 300 machines of our own that we try to use when we need to figure out a solution. If there's a solution to be found, we will do our best to find it. So it's not just learning when and where to lubricate your machine. You will also learn how and why machines work the way they do. When Paul teaches in his Saturday sessions, which I'll talk about shortly, he does usually do a deep dive into the mechanics of things, how buttons and levers work. And when you move this lever over here, what's happening over there? So a little bit about our vintage machine motor service and rewiring program. When you enroll in the vintage program, you automatically get this program for free. It will cover all vintage and external and potted motors. So potted motor, if you're not familiar, is this picture up here in the top left corner. 1591s, 201s, and 101 machines have a potted motor. They are amazing. I actually have never in my 15 years run across one of these motors that doesn't work anymore. They were very, very well designed, except that the electrical wiring from the motor to the power block often deteriorates and gets bare, which means it's a fire and electrocution habit. Not a habit. It's a possibility. We don't want that to happen. So it's kind of not a matter of if the wiring is going to need to be replaced, it's a matter of when. And it's a very tedious process, one that I personally find satisfying, but we do walk you through all of the steps when you have to rewire any type of motor. Now, you do have access to our on-demand learning library, which is a little snapshot that you see over here of our main headings. You can see the types of things we offer in here. We have external motor service wiring, potted motor service and rewiring, lamp rewiring, pretty much any wiring that you can think of, Paul can do. But what I want to stress here is that excuse me, this is a new skill. And I do think that this is a scary skill. This has always been a scary skill for me. I learned to get over it, thankfully, with Paul's help, but it's not something I ever want to do. I like to stress, we're here to help you, and it's not going to cost you anything extra to get our help. At the very least, if you have a machine that needs to be rewired or you feel the need to open the motor, we do ask that you reach out to us and let us talk with you about what needs to be done. And let's make sure there's a plan of action. That's the minimum. What Paul prefers is that if you are going to go through a motor service or do electrical rewiring, at least for the first time, he would like to get on a Zoom call with you and walk you through it. This will prevent any kind of disaster, but also give you confidence that you're doing it right. And that's going to carry over with you as you keep going. So that's a free service to you that we provide in this program that you should take advantage of. Now, this is the most in-demand service again. This is not something you can just take into any service shop and expect that they have someone on staff that can handle it. So I feel like we've seen a lot of demand in this area. In fact, I think we have at least 2 people in our program that are building motor-based businesses where they actually have people from around the country shipping motors to them. They're rewiring them and fixing them and then sending them back. So that's how on demand this service is. All right, so a little bit about what we can and can't do. We do not teach or support full assembly or reassembly of machines. If you're trying to get into the paint market where you want to repaint these machines, you often have to disassemble most or all of it. This is not my skill set. In my 15 years, have never once had to disassemble a machine. And to be honest with you, when you're working in a business standpoint, time is money. I've had everything you can think of, from machines seized all the way through that have been sitting in a pole barn for 30 years. I've had machines that are rusted all the way through. I've had machines that took us 3 months to get moving, but I've never once had to disassemble anything and reassemble it. It is not my skill set. For those of you that are fans of Bob Fowler and I are good friends and have been for a long time. I love Bob. Bob is one of my favorite people on earth, and Bob is very supportive of what we do. Bob is known for disassembly and reassembly of the cast iron machines, but Bob will also tell you this is a hobby, not a business for him. So I do point people in his direction all the time that want to go down that path, but I do like to be clear that for whatever reason, I cannot help you with disassembling anything or reassembling anything. There will be no timing adjustments in this program. That is always going to be in our separate timing programs. And unfortunately, I cannot teach gear replacement at this time. We were one of the few shops left in the entire United States that still did gear replacement. If you think of touch and sews, stylists, what we call merit style machines, anything that had plastic gears, it's not a matter of if the gears are going to have to replace, it's a matter of when. We only did it and continue to do it because we had so many older ladies that had only had that machine their entire life. And at the age they were at, did not want to learn a new machine. We actually lost money on gear replacement, but I was happy to do it because it was serving our community. We still charged quite a bit of money. It was probably anywhere between $300 and $500. I think 500 at the time for gear replacement. And we lost money on that. So the problem with gear replacement is one machine could take you one day. The exact same model of a different machine could take you 6 days to get the gears in and get everything synced right. So it's a very complex repair. And to be honest with you, if you're looking at the value of the machine, it's very rarely matches the value. The value of the machines on touch and sews I can't even give them away. Even with brand new gears, I can't give them away. So if I ever consider offering a gear replacement program, we're looking like 2027 and beyond, if I'm ever crazy enough to do it. No stripping, painting, or replacing decals. That is not my skill set, so I'm not willing to teach you on something that's not my specialty. That being said, we do have a group of people that are working together to sort this out with each other and explore different techniques. We do have someone that is building her own business. She does have access to an actual professional paint shop. I don't know how much she helps in the group, but there are people exploring this. It's just I'm not going to be your expert to help you in that. And as far as industrial machines, I did make it clear in our Remove Your Covers program where we pretty much exclude industrial machines from the modern program. However, in the vintage realm, most vintage industrial machines are just big, giant sewing machines. We help most people with what they need in here. The one caveat to that is I can't promise I know how to source parts for them. And if you have a really odd machine, like a furring machine or a ruffler, I may not be able to help you with the function of the machine. I've never actually used them. But as far as keeping the moving parts moving and lubricating and fixing minor things, we can usually help you with that. I have a second side of this program. It's a little weird. We used to have a paid monthly membership in addition to this, but we moved to a new platform last year, and our savings was big enough that I was able to remove that extra cost. That's something I try to do when I can. So this is included now with the regular vintage program. It's called VSMM Extra. And this is really for those of you that want to deep dive and understand machines better as a whole, just out of curiosity or building your skills, but also for those of you that are looking to go into business and want to work on vintage machines. It's also very helpful. So every month, Paul hosts a Saturday live clinic over Zoom. It's once a month on a Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern time. I think the real value is if you're able to be there live, you get to have conversation with Paul and other people in the group and ask questions live time. So typically, Paul will ask for suggestions on a topic, whether it's polishing metal parts, rewiring a foot pedal, replacing a lamp on a machine, opening up a machine to do motor brushes, doing a deep dive. When he doesn't have a topic that's suggested, then typically he will pull a machine off of our restoration queue because we're still doing restoration for our old customers. That's how big our log is. And he will go through it live time, sight unseen, which means he doesn't look at the machine before he starts on it. He wants to show you real life what it's like to work on machines, because we never want to present that everything is super easy, cut and dry. That would be a very big misrepresentation of working with vintage machines. So he doesn't look at the machine, and it makes him uncomfortable because the spotlight is on him. And when things go wrong on the live Saturday, you get to see him squirm and noodle through it and kind of figure out what's wrong with the machine and how do we fix it. And there's a lot of, oh, I don't know what that is. So that means that you get to see real life experience where he is stuck and how he sorts it out. These are great times for you to ask questions and kind of see lifetime how it works. So there's a lot of value in those live sessions. And then every Wednesday he hosts another call, much shorter and very, very casual. It's usually what we call a social and Q&A call. So that means that whoever's on the call dictates how the call goes. Sometimes there's a lot of Q&A where people are working on machines and want to get some guidance or ask some questions. It's really good if you can join from a phone or a tablet, because you can turn your camera on and show the group what you're working with and get some feedback. But also, sometimes they don't even talk about sewing machines. Sometimes we're talking about the machines they found at the thrift store or the machines they want to have. I want to say there was a time a couple years ago where somehow the entire conversation turned to Q-tips, where we talked about everybody's favorite brand of Q-tips when cleaning machines. Because again, the difference in the culture in vintage machines is that we like to talk about everything, whereas in the modern machines, people just like to get them finished and get back to sewing or whatever they're doing. Here we talk about everything. So it really depends on the nature of the call. Now, those calls happen at either 3 p.m. Eastern time or 7 p.m. Eastern time. I wish there was a better way to pick a time, but we're worldwide at this point, so we just have to pick a time and go with it. If you can't be on live, we do archive everything. So there's always going to be a replay. Wow, I'm a quilter. There's going to be a replay of every event available to you immediately. So if you can't be there live, you still get to enjoy it. Now, the Saturday clinics, I will say, when you join our program, it's worth it to go in and watch those in the background. They are labeled as to what the topic is. So sometimes it's a specific machine, sometimes it's procedure. There's probably about 180 hours worth of really good deep dive material in there for you to enjoy as you like. There's always a schedule of events in the program that we put so you know when the live calls are. And in the private Facebook group, I put up the schedule, and I also put a reminder the day of the call so that you know how to join. So let me recap that, because I know that's a lot. So same thing. You're going to get lifetime access to everything that we offer here. That's our group, all of our lessons, private help, personal help when you need it. We will work with you one-on-one. That happens a lot in this program because, we can't possibly cover every machine and type of issue that will arise. All of our live calls, and we do help you with creative solutions and finding parts. So this program also is normally $249. When I host open house, it usually is reduced to $199, but because you're here for our Black Friday event, it will be reduced to $169. That was a one-time payment and lifetime access to all of those things. So that is also going to save you $80 off of our normal programs. This will also give you 2 entries into our giveaway drawing.